Helpful for folks to get a sense of who's all here. So I also know it was a little bit hard to hear everybody, so I'm just going to ask the question, how many are here from industry? Raise your hands. Excellent. How many are here representing OSROs or subcontractors of OSROs? Okay. Local agencies? Excellent. State agencies? Any federal agencies here? Any environmental groups or NGOs? And anybody, any other interested citizens not otherwise designated? Excellent, thank you so much. Okay, so where we are in the agenda is you've already seen who is with the OSPR team: Joy, myself, Chris, Ryan, Steve Sawyer, which I think I saw him. Oh, there you are. So we are going to start with an overview of the statute from Ryan, and then we're going to have a series of presentations, first of which will be from Chris Klump. After Chris's first presentation, based on where we are in time, I think is when we're going to take our first break. And then we will come back, talk about contingency planning, and then certificates of financial responsibility. Can I get a show of hands of how many folks are planning on being here all day? Okay, is there anyone who's only planning on being here this morning? Okay, excellent. So I asked this so that I can make sure that all of the issues that you want to share with us are covered. And with that, and again, Joy will be taking notes, and so there may be a time when I will say, can we hold on for a second, because I want to make sure that Joy gets those comments. And I will be mindful about putting my phone on mute. Okay, and so without further ado, I will introduce Ryan Todd, who is one of our longtime staff attorneys here at OSPR, and who has really done the lion's share of the legal analysis related to this statute. I do not. It's not.
As soon as this goes up.
It should catch your voice.
Maybe not.
It should catch your voice.
Okay. Good morning.
No. There you go. Just aim it up.
Good morning. My name is Ryan Todd. I've been with OSPR since 1993. And this is an interesting time for us to roll out this program statewide, because we've been doing it along the coast for 20 plus years. So, in this year in June, the legislature enacted and the governor signed SB 861. It had an effective immediately clause in it, so most legislation takes effect January 1st, and that gives agencies some time to kind of work into implementation. But we have to start working on it now, and that's why we're having these scoping meetings. As Yvonne mentioned, we have had our program along the coast since 1991, and what that means is we've had contingency plan requirements and drills requirements and financial responsibility requirements, not just for vessels. We weren't just an offshore program. Our program has been urban, which is Orange County, Los Angeles, San Diego, San Francisco, all along the coast, but it also has applied to facilities and pipelines. So we do have some experience, and I know some of you in the room are familiar with us, where there's tidally influenced waters. So as I said, 861 basically took those elements, and they're now statewide. So these are the key things that we'll be talking about today. Not so much the rating of contractors, but the first two items for sure. As I said, it's now applicable to all state surface waters. So we don't cover groundwater. And the reason for that is that the Department of Fish and Wildlife is the trustee for wildlife and habitat. And obviously state waters is a form of habitat. So that's why this program is housed with us. And as Yvonne said, it's not firefighting, it's not, response to toxic plumes. Our jurisdiction and our focus and our mandate is basically habitat protection, critter protection. So since it's now a statewide program, there may be some new pipeline operators that we haven't interfaced with before. Railroads are new, and inland oil wells are new. As I said, the bill took effect immediately, and it has a provision that allows us to create emergency regs to kind of get the ball rolling. Those regs will be considered emergency regs for 1 year, and we will have several regulation packages. Right now we're just rolling out the contingency plan regs and the financial responsibility regs. Our goal is to have the first set of regs out for public comment later in the fall. But we're having these scoping meetings because we want to get your input before we get to that point. What we first put out, we would like it to be a good draft, a good starting point. So this is just what the statute requires. The basic things, you're probably familiar with all of them in any other plan you have, whether it's a plan you submit with the Division of Oil and Gas or SPC plans, or any other plan, hazmat plan you might have. But the code requires us to set some standards, and these are provisions from the code, so we have to implement these. We have to provide best achievable protections. That's what our regs have to accomplish. And so the focus of the plan and the focus of financial responsibility, it's driven by a reasonable worst case spill, and we'll be talking about that later today, how to best define that phrase. We have to establish standards for cleanup and response, focusing mostly on equipment. And as Yvonne mentioned, we're not the fire department, and we're not going to manage an incident for fire. The equipment we'll be talking about is on-water recovery, booming, burning oil, and skimming the oil, and storage for whatever gets recovered. We have to have requirements about hiring contractors and what contractors you use. We have a program where we rate oil spill response cleanup companies. That has been in place since around 2000, so that will be a new element for folks that have been inland for these years. So the requirement to have a contractor arrangement with a rated OSRO will kick in January 2016, which allows us to get a program in place to rate inland cleanup companies. Another key element for us is strategies for protecting wildlife and sensitive sites. Sensitive sites could include water intake and infrastructure like that. Along the coast, those strategies are normally found in an area contingency plan. In the inland part of the state, strategies like that might be found in a geographic response plan or probably. Well, I don't know. I might be the tallest one speaking. Anyway, so we'll also, Mike will come up later today and we'll talk about financial responsibility. The code requires an operator to have some sort of financial responsibility to demonstrate they can pay for cleanup and damages from an oil spill. And we are talking about just oil spills. Again, the dollar amount is set based on the reasonable worst case spill, and these are some of the methods that people use to establish financial responsibility. We've had a drills program that includes both announced and unannounced drills. You're probably all familiar with this in some form, and the elements of the plan must be tested at least once every 3 years. Something we have on the coast that's new, that'll be new for inland, is the Oil Wildlife Care Network. We are required to establish it. It's a network of 30, I think about 32 participants. The purpose of the network, obviously, is if there's a spill, they have pre-identified locations where oil critters can be taken for treatment and care, and the network includes groups that can go out there and do capture and rescue. Their funding was bumped up by $500,000 through the bill, and so because it's now it will be statewide, we will be looking to establishing inland facilities. We're looking at one here in Bakersfield, perhaps, and maybe something in the northern part of the state, but we're still looking at that. And the contingency plans must identify how the operator would manage or handle wildlife that got injured by oil. Usually, the plan holder just says, I'm going to use the Oil Wildlife Care Network, and that's good. I mean, that's all you need to do. But if for some reason you didn't want to use the network, your plan would then need to spell out how you were going to respond to, capture, and treat oil wildlife. The bill clarified that for reporting purposes, it's any amount of oil spilled in state waters. There was a provision that said it was really only 42 gallons unless the state oil spill plan had a different standard. Well, the state oil spill plan did have a different standard. It was any amount. This just cut out the plan as the location for that standard and just put it straight into the code. It's consistent with what OES has and Coast Guard. OES's phone number must be posted for responders to have fast access to. Something else the bill did, it extended our funding statewide. For the past 20 years we have been funded, our coastal program has been funded on the 6.5 cent per barrel fee that has been collected when the oil was offloaded at a marine terminal. The bill made a change to say that in addition to that collection point, the fee will also be, the same fee will be collected when any crude oil or petroleum products comes into a refinery by any method of delivery. And it stabilizes our administrative funding, and the bill also made our response fund available for any state waters. For the past 20 plus years, it has only been available for cleanup in coastal waters. It's now available for oil spills in any state water. There was no increase in the fee that funds that fund. The Board of Equalization collects these fees, and we're really just talking about the administrative fee here. And the BOE will be collecting that fee sometime in September. And that's it. So we're going to move on to Chris Klump's presentation, where the meat of everything is. And as Yvonne said, we really want your feedback. We want your input. That's what these meetings are about before we put regs on the street. We want them to be good and reasonable. And that's that.
So, Chris, do you want to use the stage?